And our text is taken from Psalm 102. It's the prayer of the afflicted. And our text is from 102:7. I lie awake, and I am a lonely sparrow on the housetop. Now, Psalm 102 is the prayer of the afflicted. And this prayer is not for the full, the satisfied, the comfortable, the affluent, the surfeited, the beautiful people of the world, or those who are ruling and living, as it were, the good life. The Lord does not need to comfort these. They have their reward and need not look for any comfort or consolation in Christ. It is unlikely that any of the aforementioned will have a place in Jesus' sufferings and consequently may not share His throne and glory. If you've ever seen a lone sparrow or a lone bird, usually they come at the close of the day and they'll sit on the housetop. And if you look up, you'll see that little bird against the vast expanse of the heavens. And it looks so alone, so separate, so very, very apart and lonely. And this illustrates those who are in affliction. Now, first we want to say a word about loneliness. Loneliness is swelling to flood proportions in a world given to business and pleasure. Nothing is happening to reduce the millions that are alone and that are isolated and feel unloved, perhaps not even needed, or worst of all, not wanted. To have only one friend who cares for you and who will stand by you is considered priceless in our time and place. Oh, for a friend who loveth at all times, and for a brother who is born for adversity. Now, you would think that loneliness is for those who live in isolated places, maybe out at the ends of the earth. But no, loneliness is felt in the biggest cities, in the midst of the thronging people. Countless numbers feel isolated. They feel alone, terrified, rejected, alone with insurmountable problems and heartaches. It is a sad feeling to find yourselves belonging, as it were, to no one. Eating alone, living alone, spending meaningless nights and days, somehow just breathing and eating and being here, alone, without any purpose. It becomes oppressive to believe that your only means of communication is through the monetary exchanges that you make and the little business that you do. Now, there is a breakdown in human relations at a time when human relations are studied and contemplated endlessly. Books, magazines, papers probe the human need for warm and loving relationships. But the more that is written and expounded, the greater the problem grows. Understanding the problem has done nothing to solve it. People in our time and in our place are schooled. They are driven to self-seeking, seeking to find their life in the real world of material wealth, splendor, power, and self-ingratiation, only to lose it, sometimes losing their life before they die in knowing that in their loneliness life has lost its meaning, its purpose. Well, did Jesus say, "He who seeks to save his life shall lose it. But he who loses his life for my sake shall find it." Now, losing life to find it is a lost art in the world. Therein lies so much of the problem. The modern concept of fulfill yourself, get yours, do your thing, develop yourself, reach your full potential, is taken out of the devil's handbook. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that the devil has any real friends? Does he have anyone that loves him? Is he lovable? Think of his position. Who does he have to fellowship with? Some demons? That's his circle. He's trapped in a world of darkness where there is no love and no light. It's a terrible position to be in, considering the glorious position that he once held. But now we want to get back to Psalm 102. Now, this psalm is alleged to have been written while the children of Israel were in Babylonian captivity. And it was towards the end of the 70 years of captivity when their land lay desolate. And we need to simply add also that their hopes were about as desolate as the land was. A whole generation of people passed, and another was born in captivity. And there were only dim recollections of that day when they were a people in their own land. And they found it difficult to believe what Jeremiah the prophet had told them, that at the end of 70 years the Lord would visit them and they would be privileged to return to their land. That seemed so impossible, so hopeless. How could that be? How would they ever get out from under the Babylonian bondage? It was an impossible dream. It was almost hopeless. It was a desperate thought. And as they neared the end of that 70 years, there was a panic in their hearts and minds that somehow that promise of Jeremiah would not be fulfilled. And as their hopes began to be tested, and they found themselves unable to really see any possible way how they would be delivered from this Babylonian captivity, we believe their affliction of mind and heart became greater and greater. But you know, that was all needless, because the Lord had promised that at the end of 70 years they would be freed. And lo and behold, one morning they woke up and the impossible happened. Cyrus, the great ruler of the world at that time, had issued a decree that any Jew that wanted to return to Israel, to the homeland, could, to rebuild a temple there to the Lord. And that applied not only to the 2 tribes, but to the 10 tribes. Any Jew anywhere in the world at that time that wanted to return, Cyrus said, was to be permitted to return. And not only permitted to be returned, but Cyrus added that they must be given money, and they must be given help, and they must be given everything that they need on their journey back to the homeland. What a powerful and wonderful fulfillment of God's promise. Now, it is believed that Daniel or Jeremiah or Nehemiah, we're not sure who wrote this psalm, could have been any one of these 3,